predicting the remainder of the NFL season and telling you who's going to win it all. Dolphins at Jets, not a super relevant game. Now, Steelers at Ravens. This is a massive game for both teams. Look, they're both 6-6. They both played each other twice in the last 5 games. If either team's able to sweep and win both games, they're probably locking up that division and that 4 seed. If either team gets swept, they're probably missing the playoffs. I've got the Ravens winning this one. We'll see how I feel in Week 18 when the Steelers host the Ravens. Colts at Jags, look, they're both 8-4. Kind of a similar situation to the Ravens and Steelers, although the Jags and Colts aren't as desperate because they'll probably still get a wild card if they don't win the division. I'm going to go with the Colts. I think the Colts are a better team. Titans at Browns, once again, not a super relevant game in terms of playoff implications. I think the Broncos take care of business, although that could definitely be a trap game. Bengals at Bills. Look, if the Bengals win out, they definitely could win that division in the AFC North. I think Josh Allen kind of rains on their parade. Texans at Chiefs. You've got to imagine the Chiefs get the job done here. Like, the Chiefs probably need to win out or go 4-1 down the stretch. I think they get the win here. I just have that feeling that they get the win. And it's not letting us pick the Chiefs. Maybe the Chiefs won't win. This website's trying to tell us something. Eagles at Chargers. It's a very close game. Look, I think the Eagles are a slightly better team. The Chargers are obviously at home. Kind of play similar style of football. I'm going to go Chargers, although I could definitely see the Eagles winning it. I think this will be a very close but very important game for playoff implications. Now, the first game of the week, Cowboys at Lions. As you can see, both are on the outside looking into the playoffs by 1.5 games, and then by, oh boy, that's complicated. I don't even know how to do that math because they have 3 less losses. They only have 1.5. I don't even know. Who knows? Regardless, the winner of this game is seriously in the playoff hunt. The loser of this game, especially if it's the Cowboys, is pretty much done. I think the Lions get the job done and kind of eliminate the Cowboys from contention. Bears at Packers. Look, they played twice. I'm going to go with the home team in both games, so I'll go Packers here. Kind of similar with the Steelers at Ravens. I think the home team gets it done. Commanders at Vikings. Not really relevant to the playoff picture. I think the Seahawks get the job done here. I think the Bucks stave off the Panthers for at least another week, and I think the Rams get a win on the board after dropping one to the Panthers. Now, Chargers at Chiefs. This is a big game for the Chiefs. They just beat the Texans. If they can beat the Chargers, now we're seriously looking at them going to be making the playoffs, especially with tiebreakers over the Chargers. I think the Chiefs get the job done. I just trust them. I don't know why, but I just trust them. Ravens aren't dropping 2 to the Bengals. I don't think it's possible, especially with the Bengals losing to the Bills and kind of being eliminated. Bills at Patriots. Look, I think the Bills get their revenge over the Patriots. Jets at Jags. I think the Jags take care of business. I think the Steelers win this game, although they could drop another one. You know, losing to the Bills, then losing to the Ravens. Maybe they just give up and lose the Dolphins. And Mike Tomlin leaves. I think the Texans get the job done here. I think the Bears win here. I think the Eagles win here. Look, those are all trap games, classic trap games against teams that aren't that good. Niners, once again. Colts at Seahawks. I'm going to go Seahawks, although I think both these teams are pretty similar in terms of talent. Seahawks are at home will give them the edge. Packers at Broncos. I think that Packers defense will be smothering Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix will struggle. I think Bucks will win here. Not a super relevant game. This game is big for the Lions. It's big for the Lions. It's also big for the Rams. Look, if the Rams lose this and the Lions get that tiebreaker, the Rams could be on the outside looking into the playoffs, depending on how things go. And I do think a desperate Lions team gets that win. I think the Panthers, although they're not great on the road, I think they win there. And I think the Cowboys keep their slim playoff hopes alive. I think the Chiefs definitely get this game. Patriots at Ravens. I trust Lamar Jackson a little bit more. I don't think this Patriots team is everything they're being made out to be. I think the Bills win. I think the Broncos win at home. Broncos are a better team than Jags in there at home, coming off a loss. Texans keep their hopes alive, and this game isn't super relevant, but we'll go Dolphins. Chargers at Cowboys. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Chargers. This feels like a Chargers game. If the Cowboys were to win that, maybe they'd have some slim hopes alive. But I think the Chargers would win. Not relevant for the playoffs. I think the Lions win here. I just don't think the Steelers are all that good of a football team. And we'll go Colts. Colts, when they're playing a good team, especially at home, will give them the edge. Rams at Seahawks. Look, the Rams won earlier in the year close. I think they'll win again. I'm not a big Seahawk believer. I think the Seahawks are a wild card type team. Gave the Packers the win earlier. Look, I think it's similar to that Ravens-Steelers series, where pretty close teams in terms of talent. I think the Bears will win in Saturday game. That'll be a good one. I think the Bears will win at home. Eagles, not relevant game. Very relevant game. They played twice, I believe, in the final 3 weeks. I'll give the home team both wins. I think that's fair. And Cardinals. Broncos at Chiefs. Look, the Chiefs, as we know, they need these games desperately. I'm going to give the Chiefs the win. Look, every game, do I think they'll win out? I'm not sure. But in each individual game, I just feel like they're more likely to win than the other team. And we've got Texans at Chargers. I think the Texans keep their playoff hopes alive and get a win over the Chargers. And unironically enough, that bumps the Chiefs out of the playoffs. So the Chargers might not be pushing all that hard if this game doesn't matter that much for them. I mean, it matters for them, but Jags at Colts. I think the Colts get another win. We'll go Colts again. I think the Patriots win. I think the Steelers win. And I think that game doesn't matter. I think the Packers beat the Ravens. I think the Bengals win. Doesn't matter. I think the Buccaneers win. This game definitely matters for both teams. And I'm going to lean Eagles. I think the Eagles get hot at the end of the season and really get rolling. I think the Cowboys win and keep their slim hopes alive. I think the Lions win. I think the Panthers are an elite home football team. I think the Panthers get the job done and beat another good NFC team. Bears at Niners. Look, this is a very important game for both teams. Although the Bears are at number 1 in the standings, very quickly they could be out of the playoff picture. And I do think the 49ers beat them. And that bumps them all the way down to 7. I think the Rams get the win here. Now on to Week 18. A lot of teams still in the hunt. The Buccaneers over here can still make it with a win because they play the Panthers, but we'll start with the AFC. The Chiefs need a win to make the playoffs. I'm not sure if they'll have the cards go right for them, but I do have them winning. Chargers at Broncos. I think the Broncos win. Colts at Texans. I'm going to go Texans. And wow, that moves the Colts all the way down to the wild card. That's stunning. But regardless, Bills get the job done. Bengals get the job done. I think the Patriots win and keep their 1-seed hopes alive. I think the Steelers win here. Yeah, the Ravens already clinched the division. So the Steelers win there, doesn't matter. And the Jags win. And on to the NFC side, I think the Rams will lock up the 1-seed. The Seahawks and Niners are playing for a playoff spot. I think the Seahawks are a better team. Packers win and kind of clinch that 2-seed. Lions and Bears, does this even matter? Bears miss the playoffs if they lose. Lions miss the playoffs if they lose. Wow, that's big playoff implications, I'll tell you. I trust the Lions a little bit more. Falcons, Cowboys, I guess, finish off the season hot. The Eagles, are they even playing for anything? Not really. We'll just say they rest. And then this game is big. This game should probably be the Sunday night game. This game is to decide who wins the division. Panthers at Bucks. And although it would be amazing to see the Panthers win their division, I'm gonna go Bucks. I'm sorry, but this is the playoff seeding. In the AFC, we have the Jags, the Chargers, the Steelers just miss. All those teams one game off. We've got the Bears, surprisingly, because they're currently the 1 seed missing. We've got the Panthers missing. We've got the Cowboys missing. And we'll get onto the playoff picture. Bills at Ravens. Look, it's a tough draw for the Ravens, having to play the team that knocked them out of the playoffs last year. I think the Bills beat the Ravens again. I don't think this Ravens team is, especially with them being 3 games worse in the regular season, I think the Bills are just a better football team. Chiefs at Texans. Look, the Texans being at home helps. I think the Chiefs probably win this one comfortably. Colts at Patriots, 2 up-and-coming teams. I'm going to go Patriots at home. Lions at Bucks. Lions get hot when they're Final 5. I think the Lions definitely take that game. Seahawks at Eagles. I don't think the Seahawks are ready to compete with the top dog of the NFC. And I think the Packers win this game comfortably. Bills at Patriots. Look, I have a lot more trust in the Bills. I obviously have them beating the Patriots in their game later in the regular season. I have them beating them in the playoffs as well. Chiefs at Broncos. I've got to go Chiefs. Look, I've got to go Chiefs. I trust them more. I just at the end of the day, I trust them more. Eagles at Packers. Look, they played this year and the Eagles won. Do the Packers get their revenge? It's going to be cold. I'll go Packers. I think it's going to be cold. Maybe Micah Parsons gets a strip sack late. Lions at Rams. Look, I had the Lions winning in the regular season. I'm going to go Rams here. A classic Chiefs versus Bills game. Unironically, this is the Bills' first home game in the playoffs. We'll go Bills to the Super Bowl. Packers at Rams. We'll go Rams. And we'll go Bills winning it all. Congratulations to the Bills.